Over 60? Let me give you a truth most travel agents will never say out loud. Your next vacation could kill you. You imagine yourself boarding that plane, suitcase in hand, excited for a cruise, a beach resort, or maybe a visit to your grandchildren overseas. But for millions of older travelers every year, that same trip turns into a silent ambush. Not from accidents, not from crime, but from infections you cannot see, cannot smell, cannot taste. Until it's too late. I've seen it firsthand. A retired couple in their late 60s returned from a luxury cruise. They thought the only danger on board was overeating at the buffet. But a few days in, they developed high fevers, chills, and difficulty breathing. Doctors found Legionnaires' disease, a deadly pneumonia caught not from food or other passengers, but from the invisible mist of bacteria living in the ship's water system. By the time they reached the hospital, one of them never walked out again. Or think of this, a cheerful grandmother who wanted nothing more than to taste authentic street food in South America. She came home with more than memories. She came home with Hepatitis A, a virus that attacks the liver. For a young backpacker, recovery might be long, but possible. For someone over 60, the liver does not forgive so easily. Her souvenir turned into weeks of hospitalization and lasting damage she never recovered from. And here's something few people talk about. Airports are biological battlegrounds. Every coughing passenger, every sneeze in a crowded terminal, every recycled breath of air on a plane spreads influenza viruses across borders in real time. What gives a 20-year-old a few miserable days in bed can send a 70-year-old into intensive care. You don't even have to step outside your own country. The danger comes to you the moment you share that cabin air. This is the shocking truth. Travel doesn't just give you postcards and souvenirs. Sometimes it gives you a disease that rewrites the rest of your life. And after 60, your defenses aren't the same. Your immune system no longer builds its army of antibodies as fast. Your lungs, your heart, your kidneys, all the organs that once recovered from stress now struggle under pressure. A younger traveler may brush off an infection, but your body? It may never fully bounce back. Doctors often don't warn seniors. Why? Because these diseases are rare. But rare means nothing when you're the one gasping for air in a foreign hospital bed. Rare means nothing when your family has to rush across the world to say goodbye. Here's the part nobody emphasizes. You do have a line of defense. Vaccines exist for many of the most dangerous travel infections. They are not luxuries. They are not optional. They are survival shields. Yet too many seniors skip them, either because no one told them, or because they thought, it won't happen to me. But it does happen, every single day. So before you pack your sunscreen, before you roll your suitcase to the airport, you must stop and ask, have you prepared your body as carefully as you've prepared your bags? Because a vacation without protection can turn into a nightmare without warning. And this is only the beginning. In the next part, I will reveal why senior travelers are uniquely vulnerable, and why skipping vaccines after 60 is like boarding a plane with no parachute. Let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time you thought about your immune system before a trip? Not your tickets, not your hotel, not your travel insurance, but your body's natural shield. The one thing standing between you and every infection out there. If you're over 60, the answer is probably never. And that's exactly why the danger is hidden. Because here's the truth. Your immune system after 60 is not the same system you had at 40, or even 50. Science calls it immunosenescence, a slow, steady decline in how your body fights infection. Think of it like an old army that once had 1 million soldiers ready to fight. Now it has fewer troops, slower response times, and weaker weapons. That means when a virus or bacteria slips in, your body doesn't launch a full counterattack. It hesitates, and that hesitation can cost you your life. Travel multiplies this risk. Why? Because every environment you step into on a trip is designed for comfort, not for safety. Airports pack thousands of strangers together in recycled air. Airplanes are flying petri dishes, carrying coughs and sneezes across oceans in a matter of hours. Hotels reuse water systems where bacteria can grow unseen. Pools and spas, no matter how luxurious, are often reservoirs of germs waiting for someone with weaker defenses. And then there's food. Street vendors in Asia, open-air markets in Africa, even local diners in Europe. All of them can carry microbes your body has never encountered. For a young backpacker, a case of diarrhea is an inconvenience. For you, it could mean dehydration, kidney failure, or worse. But the most dangerous illusion is that travel is glamorous and harmless. You don't see the risk because it hides in plain sight. The sparkling pool that looks inviting might contain Cryptosporidium, a parasite resistant to chlorine. The cold breeze of the air conditioner in your hotel room might be carrying Legionella, that smiling child coughing 2 rows behind you on the plane. They might be carrying influenza, RSV, or even tuberculosis. And your body, your 60-year-old lungs, your 65-year-old heart, your 70-year-old immune cells, cannot fight the way they once did. Add in the chronic conditions so many seniors live with: diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, COPD. Each one is like a crack in the wall of your defenses. Put them together, and the fortress crumbles fast. I'll give you an example. One of my patients, a 68-year-old retired teacher, loved to travel. She had hypertension and mild asthma, nothing too serious. She took her medications. She walked every day. She felt strong. On a trip to Southeast Asia, she decided to relax in a spa pool. The water looked clean. The hotel was high-end. Everything seemed safe. But the next week she developed fever and shortness of breath. By the time she returned home, she was in intensive care with pneumonia. The culprit? Legionella bacteria in that very spa pool. She survived, but she never regained her full lung function. Her hidden danger followed her home permanently. Stories like hers are everywhere. But you don't hear them on travel commercials. You don't read them in brochures. And sadly, many doctors don't talk about them unless you ask directly. And here's where vaccines come in, but not in the way most people think. Many seniors believe, "I had my shots as a kid. I'm covered." Wrong. Immunity fades. The army of antibodies your body built decades ago has thinned out. That's why diseases like shingles erupt later in life, or why seniors catch pneumonia so easily. Vaccines are not just for children. They are lifelines for seniors who want to survive travel. Think about it this way. When you board a plane, you trust the pilot to have done the safety checks. When you stay at a hotel, you trust the building has passed inspection. But do you trust your own immune system? Unchecked, unprotected, weakened by time. That's like boarding a plane where no one tested the engines. Would you take that risk? The hidden danger of senior travel isn't just the germs themselves. It's the false sense of security. You feel fine. You think you're healthy. You walk. You exercise. You keep busy. But what you don't see is that your immune response is slower. Your organs are more fragile, and the microbes are smarter than ever. And the danger doesn't stop with you. Many seniors travel with spouses, friends, or grandchildren. You may bring something home that infects the ones you love most. A cough from a flight could become a hospital stay for your partner. A virus picked up abroad could threaten your grandchildren who were never vaccinated against it. Travel isn't just about your risk. It's about the chain of transmission that follows you home. Here's the point. Every senior traveler carries a hidden risk in their luggage, and it isn't the souvenirs. It's the vulnerability of their own body. And unless you strengthen that shield before you travel, you are stepping into a world of invisible traps with no protection. So now you see why the danger is hidden, and why age turns every trip into a gamble. But what about the solution? What are the vaccines seniors forget most often? The ones that could save their lives abroad. That's what we uncover next. Because missing just one of them can turn your dream vacation into your last. Here's a bitter truth. After 60, the vaccines that could save your life on a trip are often the ones you never think about. Most seniors remember polio. They remember measles. They remember standing in line as children for those childhood shots. But they forget that immunity fades, that new threats emerge, and that travel exposes them to viruses and bacteria their bodies have never seen before. Let's start with the most common and most ignored. Hepatitis A. This virus doesn't care if you're rich or poor, if you stay in a 5-star resort, or eat from a street vendor. It spreads through contaminated food and water. One ice cube, one salad washed in unclean water, one bite of fruit from a local market. That's all it takes. For a younger traveler, it's miserable but survivable. For someone over 60, with slower liver function and less reserve, hepatitis A can mean weeks in the hospital and permanent liver damage. And yet so many seniors skip this simple shot. Hepatitis B. This one hides in blood, in medical equipment abroad, even in poorly sanitized dental clinics or emergency rooms if you fall sick while traveling. The danger isn't just in remote areas, it's in routine care overseas. Without immunity, a single medical procedure can infect you for life. Seasonal flu. Yes, influenza. Seniors often dismiss it because I've had it before. But flu viruses mutate constantly, especially in international airports where strains mix from every continent. A mild infection in one country can become a deadly complication in your lungs once you're on the move. And remember this, flu shots are annual, not once in a lifetime. Skip a year and you're exposed. Pneumococcal vaccine. This one protects against pneumococcal pneumonia, the kind that fills hospital wards every winter. Traveling exposes you to more people, more crowds, and more respiratory infections. Pneumonia after 60 isn't just a bad cold. It's one of the leading causes of death for seniors worldwide. A single dose of this vaccine can cut that risk in half, yet many never bother. Shingles, herpes zoster. Have you heard of the word zona? It's the cruel reawakening of the chickenpox virus you caught as a child. Stress, jet lag, long flights, disrupted sleep. All of these trigger shingles outbreaks. I've seen seniors return from dream vacations covered in painful rashes, crippled by nerve pain that never goes away. Shingles is not just a rash. It's agony that can ruin the rest of your life. and it's preventable with a simple vaccine. Typhoid and cholera. If your travel takes you to regions with poor sanitation, these aren't exotic diseases. They're everyday killers. Typhoid spreads through food and water. Cholera through contaminated water supplies. Both can dehydrate and destroy a senior's body faster than most realize. And yet, few seniors even ask about them before traveling. Now here's what you must understand. Missing just one of these vaccines is like leaving your front door unlocked in a storm. You may not notice the gap at first, but the moment danger arrives, the damage is irreversible. Let me tell you about one man, age 72, who traveled to India without updating his vaccines. He was healthy, retired, excited to explore. He thought bottled water was enough protection. A few weeks later, he was in a hospital bed with typhoid fever, delirious with high fever and dehydration. He survived, but barely, and his body never fully recovered. One forgotten vaccine changed the rest of his retirement. And this isn't rare. Travel medicine specialists see these cases all the time. They shake their heads, knowing a 2-minute conversation and a single injection could have prevented months of suffering. But here's what no one tells seniors. Vaccines aren't just about you. They're about everyone you come home to. That grandchild who hugs you at the airport. That spouse sleeping beside you. That friend you meet for coffee the day after your return. You can carry home diseases without symptoms and pass them to those you love most. Vaccines are not optional for senior travelers. They are survival. They are insurance against the invisible. They are the difference between returning with photos and returning in a coffin. And yet, there is one vaccine almost no one mentions, the one seniors need most when traveling. It's not on every list. It's not promoted heavily. But it might be the line between life and death if you catch the wrong infection abroad. That's where we go next. Because if you've never heard of it, that silence could be the most dangerous risk of all. You know what terrifies me most as a physician? It's not the diseases we see coming. It's the killers that travel with you silently, invisible, disguised as comfort, luxury, or even normal life. Let me show you 3 of the most dangerous. Legionnaires' disease. It doesn't come from food. It doesn't come from touching a doorknob. It comes from something as ordinary as shower steam. Imagine stepping into a hotel bathroom after a long flight. You turn on the hot water, close your eyes, let the mist fill your lungs. But in that mist, bacteria called Legionella may be hiding. For someone young, it might mean a chest infection. For you, after 60, it can spiral into severe pneumonia, requiring intensive care. And here's the cruelest part. You don't know it until days later, when fever and weakness strike. I treated a 70-year-old man who caught Legionnaires at a Florida hotel. He thought it was just travel fatigue. By the time he sought help, his lungs were drowning in fluid. He died within a week. His wife, who shared the same shower, survived, but now lives with chronic breathing problems. All from one shower in what looked like a safe, modern hotel. Norovirus. If you've ever stepped on a cruise ship, you've probably heard whispers of this one. Norovirus is ruthless. It spreads through touch, through food, through surfaces as innocent as a buffet spoon. One person vomits in a hallway, and within hours, hundreds are sick. For younger travelers, it's days of misery. For seniors, it's dehydration, collapse, sometimes death. I remember a retired couple in their mid-60s who boarded a cruise celebrating their 40th anniversary. Through the trip, both were confined to their cabin, violently ill. He recovered slowly, but she did not. She returned home frail, her kidneys damaged from the stress. Their dream vacation turned into a lifelong reminder of how fragile the body can be. Tuberculosis, TB. Most people think TB is a disease of the past, but airports, bus stations, and crowded cities still carry it like wildfire. You may sit on a plane beside someone coughing for 12 hours. You may pass through terminals where thousands of strangers move in and out every day. For younger people, exposure may never develop into illness. For seniors with weakened immunity, TB can awaken fast, eating away at the lungs, leaving scars you'll never heal. Do you see the pattern? These killers don't announce themselves. They don't knock at your door. They slip in silently, masked by comfort and routine. A hot shower, a cruise buffet, a plane seat. And the older you are, the less chance your body has to resist. Age turns minor threats into lethal ones. What a 25-year-old shrugs off as stomach flu can send a 70-year-old into intensive care. What feels like just a cold for a child can be pneumonia for a grandparent. But here's what chills me the most. Many seniors don't even realize how vulnerable they've become. They say, "I feel healthy. I walk every day. I take vitamins." But health at 60 is not the same as defense at 60. You can feel fine and still be one cough away from disaster. The silent killers of travel don't care if you're careful. They don't care if you avoid street food or wash your hands. They live in air, water, and surfaces you cannot control. The only real shield left is the protection you carry inside your body. And that protection fades with age unless you rebuild it. And that's why vaccines matter more than ever. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Most seniors ignore them. They think, "I've already had that." They think, "That disease is rare." They think, "I'll be fine." And that's the biggest lie of all. Because when you're over 60, rare doesn't mean impossible. It means deadly when it hits you. So the question becomes, why do so many seniors, smart, experienced, well-traveled, still walk straight into danger with no vaccine shield at all? That's where we go next. And the answer will shock you. Now, you might be wondering, if the dangers are so real, why do so many seniors still ignore travel vaccines? The answer is both simple and deadly. First, denial. I've heard this sentence too many times. "I had those shots years ago. I'll be fine." What they don't understand is that immunity fades. The army of antibodies built decades ago has thinned. At 60, 70, 80, the soldiers are tired. A vaccine from childhood is not a shield for senior travel. Yet people cling to the false memory of being protected forever. Second, the myth of rarity. Seniors often say, "That disease is rare. I've traveled before and never caught anything." Rare is a trick of statistics. Rare means it doesn't happen to millions at once. But when it happens to you, the chance is suddenly 100%. One infection, one exposure, one unlucky trip. That's all it takes. Third, misplaced trust. Many assume their doctors would warn them if vaccines were necessary. But the truth is, primary care visits are short. Doctors focus on your blood pressure, your diabetes, your arthritis. They don't always think about your upcoming cruise or overseas trip. Unless you specifically ask about travel vaccines, the subject may never come up. and silence becomes a silent risk. Fourth, the illusion of health. Plenty of seniors remain active, jogging, hiking, traveling. They feel young inside, and that feeling tricks them into believing their bodies are just as strong. But feeling healthy is not the same as being immune. Your immune system ages whether you admit it or not. It doesn't ask for your permission. And finally, the fear of inconvenience. Vaccines take planning. Some require multiple doses, spaced weeks apart. Some are only given at certified clinics. Many seniors tell themselves, "I don't have time. My trip is soon. It's too much trouble." They'd rather gamble with their lives than face a little paperwork and a needle. And that gamble has consequences. I once had a patient, a 66-year-old woman, who refused the hepatitis A shot before traveling. She said, "I've eaten all over the world and never gotten sick. Why now?" 2 weeks later, she was jaundiced, her skin yellow, her liver failing. She survived, but only barely. Her words to me later still echo. "I thought rare meant safe. I was wrong." Another man, age 72, told me he skipped the flu shot for his trip because he'd never needed it. On the return flight, he caught influenza from a coughing passenger. Within days, he was in the ICU with pneumonia. He never left the hospital. His family asked me afterwards, if the vaccine was so important, why didn't anyone tell him? That's the tragedy. Seniors ignore vaccines not out of recklessness, but out of misplaced confidence, outdated assumptions, and gaps in communication. But the microbes don't care about excuses. They only care about opportunity. And when they find an unprotected body, they strike. Here's what you must remember. Your age changes the rules. At 30, your immune system forgives mistakes. At 60 and beyond, it does not. What you ignore today becomes what destroys you tomorrow. And the most haunting part? Every one of these tragedies could have been prevented. A few minutes at a travel clinic, a simple shot, a small investment of time. That's all it takes to erase the risk. Yet too many seniors walk straight past the clinic, telling themselves they'll be fine. But I've seen what happens when they're not. And in the next part, I will show you. Real stories, real lives. Seniors who thought they were safe and paid the ultimate price. If you think skipping a vaccine is harmless, Part 6 will change your mind forever. Stories save lives, if we listen. So let me tell you a few that still keep me awake at night. Case 1. The liver that never recovered. A 67-year-old grandmother, vibrant, full of life, booked her dream trip to South America. She skipped the hepatitis A vaccine because her travel agent said it's optional. In a small town, she ate a fresh salad washed in local water. Within days, her skin turned yellow, her eyes dark, her body weak. Hepatitis A tore through her liver. She survived the infection, but her liver never fully healed. She returned home alive, but chained to medications, her independence stolen forever. One shot could have saved her organ. One shot could have saved her future. Case 2. The cruise that ended in silence. A retired engineer, 70, boarded a Caribbean cruise with his wife. They wanted nothing more than to celebrate their anniversary at sea. On day 4, he began coughing, sweating, feeling short of breath. By the time the ship docked, his lungs were collapsing. He had contracted Legionnaires' disease from the ship's water system. He was rushed to a hospital, placed on a ventilator, but his body couldn't fight. His wife came home alone. What was supposed to be a memory of love became a memory of loss. And yes, a simple pneumococcal vaccine might have blunted the attack, buying him the strength to survive. Case 3. The Shingles Nightmare. At 72, a woman traveled to Europe, her first trip abroad in years. The stress of flights, jet lag, and disrupted sleep triggered the reactivation of the chickenpox virus she carried since childhood. Shingles erupted across her torso. The pain was excruciating, like fire under her skin. But worse, even after the rash faded, the nerve pain never left. Post-herpetic neuralgia, a lifelong torment. She told me later, "Doctor, I would give anything to erase this pain." And I had to tell her the truth. A shingles vaccine could have prevented it all. Case 4. The rabies that came too late. A 65-year-old man loved animals. On a trip to Southeast Asia, he played with a stray puppy. It bit his finger. He thought nothing of it. Days later, he fell ill. Rabies. Once symptoms appear, there is no cure. None. He died in terror, knowing the virus had already reached his brain. A pre-travel rabies vaccine, given weeks before his trip, would have turned a deadly exposure into a survivable one. Instead, he became another statistic. Case 5. The airport infection. A 69-year-old traveler flew home after visiting family overseas. On the plane, a passenger behind him coughed constantly. Within days, he developed fever, chills, and weakness. Influenza. It spread fast, crashing into his lungs, leading to pneumonia. He was admitted to intensive care. He never woke up. His family stood by his bed, asking me why. And the hardest part was this. A flu shot, taken just weeks before his flight, could have spared them their grief. Each of these lives carried a common thread. Prevention was possible. Each had time. Each had the chance to protect themselves. Each ignored it, and each paid the price. I share these stories not to frighten you for the sake of fear, but because this is reality. Seniors over 60 are not statistics. They are names, faces, families. They are mothers, fathers, grandparents. And too often, their deaths were preventable. The saddest words I hear in medicine are, "if only." If only she had taken the hepatitis shot. If only he had updated his pneumonia vaccine. If only they had gone to a travel clinic before boarding the ship. But hindsight doesn't bring them back. Awareness, action, and preparation do. So I ask you, before your next trip, will you be another case I tell? Or will you be the person who listened, who acted, who came home safely? Because in the next part, I will hand you the survival checklist. The exact steps to protect yourself before you travel after 60. This list is your shield, your insurance, your chance to make sure your story doesn't become my next warning. Up to this point, I've told you about the dangers, the forgotten vaccines, and the tragedies that could have been prevented. But fear alone won't protect you. You need a plan, a survival checklist, a step-by-step guide that every senior over 60 must complete before stepping on a plane, boarding a cruise, or even crossing into another country. So here it is, the travel vaccine checklist that saves lives. Step 1. Check your vaccination history. Don't assume, don't guess. Dig out your records. Ask your doctor's office. Many seniors believe they had everything years ago. But immunity fades, and some vaccines didn't even exist when you were young. Hepatitis A and B, shingles, Pneumococcal. If you don't see proof on paper, consider yourself unprotected. Step 2. Schedule your appointment early. Vaccines don't work overnight. Your body needs weeks to build antibodies. Some require multiple doses. That's why you must see your doctor or a travel clinic at least 4 to 6 weeks before departure. Waiting until the last minute is like locking the door after the thief is already inside. Step 3. Know your destination risks. Different places carry different dangers. Africa and South America may require yellow fever vaccination for entry. Southeast Asia has Japanese encephalitis and rabies risks. Poor sanitation areas call for typhoid and cholera protection. Europe and North America still carry flu and pneumonia threats every season. Wherever you go, ask, what diseases wait for me there? Step 4. Don't forget the basics. Routine vaccines matter too. Measles, mumps, rubella, MMR, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, annual flu shots, COVID-19 boosters. These are the foundations of protection. Weak foundations collapse when stress is added. Step 5. Pack prevention with you. Vaccines are powerful, but they are not enough alone. Carry bottled water or purification tablets when traveling to high-risk regions. Avoid raw food, salads, and ice in countries with questionable sanitation. Wear masks in crowded airports. Stay away from public spas and poorly maintained pools. Carry hand sanitizer and use it constantly. Step 6. Get the right documents. Some countries will not even let you in without proof. The International Certificate of Vaccination, often called the Yellow Card, may be mandatory for yellow fever and other vaccines. Imagine saving for a dream trip only to be denied boarding because you didn't bring a piece of paper. Bureaucracy kills dreams as surely as disease kills bodies. Step 7. Review with your doctor. Your health conditions matter. Heart disease, diabetes, lung problems. These make infections more dangerous. Your doctor can tailor vaccine and medication plans specifically for you. Never copy someone else's checklist blindly. Make yours personal, detailed, and strict. Now let me be blunt. Skipping any of these steps is gambling with your life. You wouldn't climb a mountain without oxygen. You wouldn't swim in the ocean without knowing how to float. Why would you step into foreign lands without building your body's shield first? This checklist is not optional. It is survival. But here's the final truth. Even with a checklist, even with planning, even with vaccines, travel after 60 will always carry danger. And unless you understand the stakes, unless you truly commit to protecting yourself, your next trip could be your last. So in the final part, I will leave you with the last warning, the truth that could haunt you or save you. A reminder that travel can give you beautiful memories, or scars that never fade. And a choice. Will you take action, or will you roll the dice with your life? So here we are. We've walked through the silent dangers of senior travel. We've uncovered the forgotten vaccines, the deadly infections, the real lives lost too soon. And I've handed you the checklist, the shield that can protect you before you leave home. But now comes the final truth, the part no one wants to hear. Travel is never safe. Not completely. Not after 60. Every trip is a gamble. Every airport, every hotel, every cruise ship carries risks that most people choose to ignore. And ignoring them does not make them disappear. The question is not whether danger exists. The question is whether you will face it prepared or defenseless. I've watched too many seniors step onto planes smiling, only to return in wheelchairs, oxygen tanks strapped to their sides, their independence shattered forever. I've seen dream vacations end in hospital wards, where the only souvenirs were IV lines and scars. I've seen grandchildren meet grandparents at the airport, not with hugs, but with tears. And every time, the thought cuts deep. This did not have to happen. One shot, one appointment, one decision could have rewritten their story. Travel can give you joy. Travel can give you memories that light up the rest of your life. But without preparation, it can also give you scars that never fade, or silence that cannot be undone. You hold the power to decide which it will be. So here is my final warning. If you are over 60, never travel without first protecting yourself. Check your vaccines, update your immunity, carry your certificate, pack your prevention, because your life depends on it. And here is my final call to you. Don't walk away from this knowledge and forget. Don't close this video thinking, I'll deal with it later. Later is how people die. Later is how families break. Later is how regrets are born. If this message struck you, if you now realize how close the danger truly is, then stay with us. Subscribe to this channel, the Over 60 Health Podcast, because travel vaccines are only one piece of the puzzle. Your bones, your heart, your lungs, your memory. They all carry hidden risks after 60. And in each episode, we uncover them, one by one, before they uncover you. Don't gamble with your future. Don't gamble with your life. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Because protection missed today can mean regret forever.